The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves the big VP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, well, there's late, and then there's 10:10 late.
You know.
But we are here, and that's all that matters. Good morning, everybody. Off the Bench. Off and rolling. Justin Kinner, Casey McCollister, Elliot Reardon, Jacob Tissett. Guys, good morning. How are we?
Good. 10-10, double jeopardy cancels out. We're fine, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
100% right.
That's how that works.
And to be fair, I guess the strategy for today was Sam LeCure is coming on a little bit later. So we wanted to make sure that was on the radio. So that's kind of the strategy there. But, yeah, it's a good day today. Listen, I looked at the radar, and again, I don't know why whenever I do it, but it is supposed to rain today.
Ooh.
Can you believe that?
What a shock.
It's supposed to rain today.
Well, at least you're not supposed to sit outside for like 8 hours.
Well, it shouldn't rain too bad. I did notice that. It shouldn't rain too bad. From 5 to 7, though, tonight, it looks like there's a chance of some rain. I'm hoping that goes away.
Has to.
I'm hoping that goes away.
Has to.
But, yeah, I don't know what all this rain came from. We got all this rain here in the May. I thought it was... Wasn't it April showers?
That's right.
Yeah.
I've seen no flowers.
Something about the flowers.
0 flowers.
There's flowers. I want flowers.
That's all I've ever wanted.
That's all I want. I got my car washed yesterday. I felt good about it. Now it's going to rain. It's going to ruin my car wash.
Shouldn't have done that. You got to park in a big muddy pit where you're going to work today.
Is it
oh
muddy?
yeah.
That's all right. That's okay. I wish I had my Jeep still. I used to. Jacob and I didn't know this. Jacob, we had this conversation yesterday, but we had Jeep Cherokees.
That's right. We both did.
We both had Jeep Cherokees as our starter car. It was one of my favorite cars. The issue with it, unfortunately, is it didn't have a lot of control. Didn't have a lot of control on the roads out there. So I would fish, whenever it was raining, I would fishtail and I'd spin out constantly in that thing. It was a death trap. But I loved it. It was perfect for days like this.
It was a fun car.
Question. Why are we worried about the weather today? What do you have going on?
No, I wasn't worried about the weather exactly. We're going out. We're working the Clover Nook Open.
Oh,
so I was just trying. Because last year it rained on me a little bit out there. I think it was a rainy tournament if I remember right. And this year we've had good weather yesterday. I'm hoping for good weather today. That's all.
I worked it yesterday and it was phenomenal. I just sat and looked at a video board that didn't have any problems and watched guys play golf.
Your day yesterday, just in the sun, that felt fantastic. I was looking at your pictures.
Awesome.
I'm like, I'll just go up and join you.
You should have came. It was a blast. I had the whole back patio, the country club to myself. They were bringing me waters.
Did you get a hot dog?
Awesome.
Did you get a hot dog?
I did not. I had a burger because they had a
Okay.
deal on the burger and fry meal, and you got to be conscious.
I will be getting a hot dog.
I will say that the young lady behind the cash register, it was her first day at the Nook, I think it is called.
Yeah.
She rung up an Arnold Palmer as a mixed drink and tried to charge me $8.
Oh no.
I said, honey, that's an iced tea.
But it is mixed.
It's really good.
Like
I understand where she's coming from.
There's two things in that drink,
I understand
to be
it.
fair.
But you had to go into the bar tab, I assume.
I don't like to confront people, so like if
You would have just paid the $23 for
Yeah.
a burger and Arnold Palmer.
yeah, like that's not a big deal to me. I'll pay it and we'll call it. It's like
Move on.
Yeah, it's like karma.
Yeah.
Good vibes out in the universe.
When you called her honey, what did she say?
Yeah, I don't think I don't think he called her that.
No.
I don't think he called her that. Could be wrong.
I do like honey.
Did she ask for your ID, though?
No.
gonna ring you
I
up,
guess
like-
that's another question.
Yeah.
Oh, honey.
She didn't
come
ask for
on,
my
honey.
ID.
Like,
Maybe I should have called her honey.
I mean, she was really doing her job that day. But nonetheless, off the bench, as Elliot said, we will have Sam LeCure coming up later on for, obviously, we're live right now, so at 11:30 when you're listening to this in Dayton, you'll just hear it later on in the show. There you go. Excited for Sam LeCure. I shot him a text the other day saying, listen, vibes are low. The fans are getting a little restless as well, so we kind of need you to come on and give the show a a little boost. And he said, well, do I have to be positive? I'm like, no, we just need you to come on. But last time he was basically giving us a tour of the airport.
Yeah.
He was getting a smoothie. I mean, he was working. He had the cowboy hat on. He did say he'll be out and about today, but he's going to jump on camera with us. I just don't know where he's at. I'm kind of curious. I kind of want him to be out on location just doing random stuff.
That's so much better.
Yeah.
We should ask him every time he comes on to not be in a set place. I like to explore the world with Sam LeCure.
I kind of just want a plain white wall behind him, too, like our reporters that normally come on.
Yeah,
Like,
no, shout out to all our wonderful guests, half of them with the blank white wall behind them.
I've never figured out the right setup for
No.
when doing a remote show. So I have no excuse to make fun of anybody's backdrop. Mine's my couch in my room. So.
I think you sat on the floor one time.
Yeah,
with the couch as the backrest.
Correct.
That's good.
I've absolutely sat on the floor.
Was that the show we did the
It
push-up
might have been.
contest?
It
That
might
was
have
a-
been the push.
yeah.
That was a weird wild show. We were all snowed in.
Yeah.
But-
The snow shows were fun.
So we got that in. But yeah, Sam LeCure coming up later on. We will talk football. Yesterday on my show, we had some people that were weighing in on the best divisions in football, whether the AFC North is still the best division in football. So I figured we could dive into that coming up here around the corner. We'll tie in some Bengals as well with that. But last night, it was a great night for the Reds. Nothing bad happened. They got a win. That's all that matters, right? That's all that matters is that the Reds got a win. You get a win. You also picked up a loss. We'll talk about that coming up in a moment. But let's kick off the show with our guy Elliot as he does what he does best, and he brings us Elliot's headlines.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines, whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the Bench brings you Elliot's headlines.
Are we in the trust tree?
No.
We're in the trust tree.
You got my trust. Or I trust. Yeah, you got my trust.
How many ways does the trust go in the trust tree?
It goes every way.
The branches.
We're in the trust tree. I saw Hunter Greene get hurt yesterday. I was listening to it on the radio. I was out golfing. I was listening to the game on the radio. Jacob texted me before it happened, or before I got the memo on my app. And as soon as I saw it, I just turned it off. I was done. So the game yesterday, it was a win, and it's a win that I'll never remember because I couldn't care less about it. I was so frustrated. Now, the update for Hunter Greene as of yesterday, or at least late last night, was that hopefully, and this is a big hopefully, it's not too serious. Hopefully, Hunter Greene said that he won't miss a start. Now, we know what happens with these Reds injuries, and we will talk about them later, but nonetheless, hopefully, we don't miss Hunter Greene. The Reds get a win over the Braves 4-3. Hunter Greene struck out 6, only allowed 2 hits in his 3 innings of work before being pulled. TJ Friedl had 2 home runs. Tonight it is Nick Lodolo versus Spencer Schwellenbach.
That's a fun name.
So hopefully the Reds can at least try to even up this series. The Angels, they beat the Blue Jays 5-4. The Tigers, they hang on in extras to beat the Rockies 8-6.
Are they good?
Tigers?
Like, actually good?
Yeah, the Tigers are really good. I think the Tigers are really
That's
good.
fun.
I think the Tigers
I've seen a few like national podcasts or national hosts like are the Tigers the best team in the American League? And
Right.
it has me scooting up to the edge of my seat trying to figure this one out. So.
At some point, they might just be good.
Not saying no, but not saying yes either.
Right.
They might legitimately be the best team in the American League.
And they have last year's Cy Young.
Yeah.
Like, great young core coming up.
Poor
They're
Jimmy. He
fun.
had to be on the show when his Tigers were no good.
Yeah.
The highlight of his season was beating the Reds. Sweeping.
it.
Yeah, I think it was probably
Sweeping.
making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or that. That one was probably it too. The White Sox, they lose again to the Royals, this time 2-1. The Orioles, they lose 5-2. They've dropped 4 in a row. The Yankees, they survive in extras 4-3 to beat the Padres. The Phillies, they shut out the Rays 7-0. The Red Sox, they beat the Rangers 6-4. The Marlins, they get crushed by the Dodgers 10-1. Thank you, Marlins, for coming out.
Would be nice.
The Mets, they crushed the Diamondbacks 7-1. The Mariners, they won 6-5 over the Athletics. Cubbies lose again to the Giants 3-1. And the Cardinals, they shut out the Pirates 5-0. Quick update on the Pirates. Casey, how many games do you think they've lost in a row?
What, like 8, 9?
Almost 7. Pirates have lost 7 games.
Sure,
in a row.
they'll get there tonight, Casey.
The Pirates are the worst team in organized professional sports history. Continuing on, the National Basketball Association. The Nuggets, we'll start there. The Nuggets, they get destroyed by the Thunder 149-106.
Most
Yikes.
points in the first half in playoff history.
Really?
87.
My favorite part about the NBA is when they're down big, boy, do they just throw it in the towel. There's no point except when you're playing the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics, they blew another 20-point lead. The Knicks take a 2-0 series lead. Jaylen Brown and Derek White each had 20 points. Those are the two best players on the team, so I figured that would be the case. If you were wondering where Jason Tatum was, and I close my eyes and I think about it, he didn't do anything.
No.
He contributed nothing. For those of you who are wondering what Jason Tatum is in these last two games, superstar Jason Tatum, maybe a top 5 player in the league, some say. 12 for 42 on field goals, 5 for 20 from beyond the arc.
Now, this isn't something I say often in any sense.
Sure.
Shout out Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr did something that we all were questioning this summer when he benched Jason Tatum throughout the entirety of the Olympics, and this is why. I mean, he saved the U.S. from, damage.
Yeah.
True danger if you're playing Jason Tatum in crunch time of those Olympics. So, shout out to Steve Kerr. He really got it right this summer.
Is Derek White a top 25 player in the league?
Yeah.
Maybe? Top 50?
I mean, everyone always says the Celtics are the best duo in basketball. It's got to be Derek White and Jaylen Brown, right?
Correct. Or Kristaps and someone
Or
someone
Drew
else.
Holiday, Defensive Player of the Year.
Correct.
It must be nice, man, to be labeled a superstar and you can win 60 games in the regular season and not have to really do anything to win a championship.
My favorite's when he when he wears the Kobe jacket into the arena. Like, there's a lot of players that always try to compare or at least try to honor Kobe in some, but they at least have that Kobe aura.
Yeah.
He does not have that aura that I think of Kobe Bryant when it comes to him walking out on the floor.
No, he has no aura.
He copies the bits of everybody else.
Yeah.
He did the Kevin Garnett cheer after he won the finals. He's done the Steph Curry speech when it's and then he's done everything. He's done literally everything. So good for him, I guess. 13 points. Have fun. Heading over to the NHL. The NHL, the Stars, they win 3-2 over the Jets to take Game 1, and the Maple Leafs, they get a 4-3 win over the Panthers to take a 2-0 series lead. Those
Note about the Stars.
are your headlines.
The Stars in their last 3 games have scored 11 goals.
Yeah.
Mikko Rantanen has all 11 points. Shout out Casey's Avalanche for trading him for absolutely nothing just because you don't want to pay good players. In NHL history, he's the only player to have 10 points over a 3-game span while scoring and assisting on every one of his team's goals.
Oh.
The other in the regular season, not the playoffs, was Mario Lemieux.
Oh.
Ever heard that name?
Is that back-to-back hat tricks?
I don't know if he scored 3 goals. Did he?
I think he did.
Well, then yes, it would be.
Back-to-back. I think it was back-to-back hat tricks. So unbelievable. Casey, your thoughts on that trade?
When I was picking my favorite NHL team, I didn't realize I was picking my favorite Cincinnati team. I mean,
Won a championship 4 years ago.
I mean, they don't pay their good players. They trade them away. At least they get some value out of them. I guess it's a little different than Cincinnati. But, hey.
Brutal.
Yeah.
At least they got a ring.
Sure.
Yeah, at least
Was
they
a
got
hat
ring.
trick last night.
Wow.
Real quick, going back to that Celtics-Knicks series, I laughed at this. The Celtics in that series, by the way, have led for 81 minutes. The Knicks have led for 12 minutes. And the Knicks, the road team, have a 2-0 series lead going back to New York. Pretty impressive. That's like when the Reds will, when they outscore an opponent but still find a way to lose a series. Was that the Rangers series?
Yeah.
Because they lost the 2 straight in that series, 1-0 losses or whatever. But when you outscore an opponent in a series but still lose it, that's what this kind of reminds me of here. Celtics down 0-2, Cavs down 0-2. Which one of those teams has the better opportunity to come back?
I might bet my life on the Boston Celtics to win that series.
Me too.
We're getting plus money on the Boston
I'm gonna take 'em,
Celtics. So you have to take them.
I took him to win in 5 after game 1. I'm probably going to take him to win in 6
Yeah.
after last night. I just don't see how the Knicks can do it. But maybe they will.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson's an interesting player. He's an interesting.
He's fun.
I love
when
watching
he's not
him play.
foul dating. He is fun to watch.
But he gets shots off that he shouldn't get off.
Right.
I don't understand it. I mean, he's a shorter guard. I don't get how he gets some of the shots off that he does. I know, like the Celtics at this point, I mean, you're basically fully healthy. You have a better chance at coming back because you have the core of your guys out there. They just have to play like it. They've won a championship. As far as the Cavs, I mean, they've shot themselves. That's why that loss sucked.
Yeah.
You had a huge lead. You should have been able to close that out. It's one thing if you get pummeled because you don't have some of your star players. But the fact that you had that lead and let it slip away, now you're 0-2 going back against a very hot Indiana team in Indianapolis, and you're still shorthanded. Darius Garland, I see look, that's very easy for us, the athletic freaks that we are, all right, to sit there and look at a guy like Darius Garland and say he needs to be out there. But where are we at with Darius Garland? Does he need to be out there? A toe injury? I don't know the severity of the toe injury. I've stubbed my toe before. I don't know if it's the same thing. I'm an athlete. Not really. Should he be out there? Should he be fighting through this right now?
I think if you're Darius Garland, you got to make sure you're 100% healthy before you get out there. DeAndre Hunter as well. I honestly think Donovan Mitchell, he looked tired at the end of last game. Maybe he should take game 3 off. Maybe you just sit all 5
So what you've done here is you've opened up the bit. You've opened up the bit. No, if we're dealing with near elimination games, I'm sorry, but if you can jog at a reasonable pace, you got to be out there and you got to be with your team.
It won't help him stop Halliburton.
Probably won't.
Big Hallie guy, huh?
Love him.
And Hallie he trusts. All right, off the bench, Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearding, and Jacob Tissett with you here on this Thursday morning. Again, a lot more to get into. Let's talk about Hunter Greene. Let's talk about that injury. Obviously, it's not a good thing to be without Hunter Greene, but can this Reds pitching staff sustain the success they've had to this point? If there's going to be a prolonged absence of Hunter Greene, we'll talk about that more when we come back. Plus, the Reds and the Pirates coming up around the corner got me thinking during yesterday's show when we were talking about how the front office has just really let down this Cincinnati Reds roster. But then you look what's happening in Pittsburgh right now. Which of those organizations have let their rosters, have let their teams down more? The Reds or the Pirates? We have that coming up here shortly. Sam LeCure later on in the program as well. More off the bench when we come back. I honestly think the moments before the show and between that segment and this one, we've had a whole other sports segment that really could have worked.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, probably. If we put together the whole week, just pre-show, post-show, in between segments, we'd get, what, two more pretty good shows?
Yeah, I'd say so.
At least one solid 2 hours of content.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Now, some of them might have to be members only.
Well, I would say most. I mean, that's the off-air part of it. Yeah, most of them probably have to be members only. Or Casey be over there adding a lot of bleeps.
Yeah. But we welcome you back. Hunter Greene last night, very unfortunate. Obviously leaves the game, the fourth inning. I know you were out golfing. Was not watching the game last night, and I get a text saying Hunter Greene with just a facepalm, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I thought he got rocked. I thought like maybe he was just getting beat up a little bit, and I'm like, I see that the Reds have the lead. Our guy TJ Friedl, as he always does, just a couple home runs in the game, no big deal.
I've always said he should be leading off. Shout out Terry.
So Hunter Greene obviously leaves the game, and I don't know why I'm like laughing. I don't know why I have this like enjoyable tone in my voice right now when it comes to this, but I think it's just kind of one of those like, sure,
yeah.
What else? What else can go wrong this season? I don't know what to make of this. Look, I know this sounds wild. This is not a good thing that Hunter Greene is out, but I guess of all the star players the Reds have, and I make it sound like they have a lot, you have mainly two. You have Elly De La Cruz and Hunter Greene. Of the two that you could afford to lose, I guess just due to the depth of this rotation and the way that the pitching staff from top to bottom, rotation and bullpen, the way that they've pitched up to this point of the season, obviously. I'm not saying it's not a big deal that he's out. It's a huge deal. He's your ace. He's your Cy Young caliber pitcher. But the fact that he is out right now and they have so much depth in this rotation, obviously I think they can sustain a short absence of Hunter Greene, but we don't know how long of an absence this is going to be. How long do you think this rotation can sustain an absence of Hunter Greene, and are they capable of getting it done?
The good news about the rotation is that out of all the positional groups, the one group that can survive a short-term injury is the starting rotation. They've got the depth. They've got pieces there. They're able to survive that. If he's out for the entire season, we're looking at a different story. But if it's a quick 10-day IL, if he's going to be okay, miss one start, fine. I think the rotation will be fine if that's the case. Because I think they've got guys. Rhett Lauder's starting to rehab it up. He's starting to pick it up, and maybe he could come back. And God knows. Hopefully, if Hunter Greene was out for long term, hopefully Rhett Lauder would then come up in the end of the month or something like that. I would be okay with it for short term. But yeah, I mean, it's the story of the game yesterday was that injury, because he's been the best player on the Reds probably this season, and to lose a guy like that who gives you that consistency, who gives you that spark and that energy every single time he pitches is a devastating blow. And for the most part, the Reds are unable to overcome those injuries. But I feel like short term, Nick Lodolo, Brady Singer, Nick Martinez as of late, Andrew Abbott, they're going to be able to pick up the pace. I'd imagine they'd bring. I don't know who would. I really don't know.
Rhett Lauder just started a rehab stint.
If it's only one start he misses, you might just bullpen game it.
Yeah, you could go the Brent Suter, Graham Ashcraft game, and I'd be okay, or the Lion Richardson game.
Yeah.
Either way, I'd be okay. They can survive. They can survive this if it's short term. Again, he's scheduled for an MRI. Based on everything that I've heard from him and Terry, which might not mean a whole lot. It's not a serious injury. So knock on wood and pray that Hunter Greene's going to be okay and ready for his next start.
Step one is upper or lower body, and as soon as you hear it's lower body and they're thinking right groin, that's a huge sigh of relief. Now, I mean, obviously, that could be a big issue that makes him miss a lot of time, but you're much more worried about upper body injuries and rehab from all that. So it's certainly a huge sigh of relief to hear that it's a lower body injury, and it might only be a one start or no starts missed. That would be a huge break for the Reds. Can the Reds withstand a Hunter Greene injury? Probably, as long as it's one or two starts. Can the fan base?
No.
Right. Last night that was as bad as losing that game 5-0, because you finally break a 4-game losing streak. You get a win where Hunter Greene looks great through 3 innings, and you lose him in warm-ups while you're on a commercial break. And you come back and Brent Suter's on the mound, and TJ Friedl's 2 home runs out the window. Winning a game in Atlanta out the window.
Yeah.
The whole vibe is just, well, now it's a 5-game losing streak. Well, they got to win. They got to win against a pretty good team, and there's no way to possibly be excited about that, because you lose one of what? The 2 or 3 players on this team that you're excited to watch when they're on the field? I mean, we talk about apathy in this fan base and how scared we are that it's going to set in. I know for a fact it's not setting in once out of every 5 days, because everyone's running to their TV to watch Hunter Greene. So can the Reds withstand it from a production viewpoint? Absolutely. I think they can. They're so deep at starting pitching, and that's one of the strengths that they have. But Hunter Greene means a lot to this team right now, especially with the brand of baseball they're playing and the way they're playing and the way it feels in this city. So he's got to come back, and he's got to come back and return to form.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I can't bear. I mean, it's a good question by you, but I can't bear to watch the Reds without Hunter Greene. And I'm not going to try to go to all the worst possible scenarios that can happen. But it's the Reds would be borderline unwatchable if Hunter Greene and Elly De La Cruz aren't on the roster. Unwatchable. It's an unwatchable product.
Yeah, look, the bottom line is we've seen this rotation have great outings all season, and it's been complemented with, at times, very low run production. So, look, 2 nights ago when they lose Game 2 in that series, I mean, you lost 2-1. You got great production there. You're getting good production from up and down your rotation at this point. So you're going to continue to get that, knock on wood, you would think. And I mean, a lot of these guys are proven. You know what you get with Andrew Abbott. You know what you get with Brady Singer, as you mentioned earlier. Feel very positive right now after seeing Nick Martinez come off 2 of his best starts, the 2 best starts of the season. He's had 3 really good outings over the last couple of weeks as well. So I feel pretty good that they can obviously get through this stretch without him if it's a short, absence as far as that goes. Look, we've talked about the depth of the rotation for a while. You do have guys in the bullpen that have starting experience. Grant Mashcraft, I don't want to go back to him as a full start-time starter in the rotation for the remainder of the season, but as you guys said, you can kind of pull him out and maybe not use him as a full starter. You can, go the opener route if you need to. Obviously, right now, Rhett Lauder, I don't know if the intention was ever to get him back on the main roster this season as long as this rotation is healthy. You got to wonder right now with him making, his first couple rehab starts over the next week or two, just how quickly they're going to push him through, and is the goal to get him to call up if they are going to be without Hunter Greene for longer than what we're anticipating. So the depth in the rotation, obviously, that they have on the roster right now is good. The depth in the system's pretty damn good, too, if they have to rely on that. But the bottom line is run production, that's all that matters at this point. Hunter Greene or no Hunter Greene, this team has no chance of winning games if they're not able to produce runs and put the bat on the ball and just play fundamental baseball, something they haven't even been doing with this rotation pitching at a high level. So that has to be the number one point of emphasis. I think that distracted everyone from the fact that they did get run production yesterday, and by golly, look, they go and win a damn baseball game when you get competent pitching mixed with a little bit of run production right there. And the wild thing is as bad as things felt yesterday, you have Nick Lodolo on the mound tonight, who is coming off of a little bit of a rough outing. But you can leave Atlanta with a split. And I'd say with as bad as this series started, I think that's a win in itself if you could leave Atlanta and head to the Astros with a little momentum. Losing Hunter Greene sucks. But if you can head into Houston with a little momentum coming out with a split, I'd say all things considered, that's a pretty damn good week, as bad as it could have been, if you will.
Split puts them one game below our target win total through this stretch, believe it or not.
I'm not going to complain about a split with the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. I'm never going to complain about that. But when it comes to missed opportunities and how this stretch has gone, it just feels like it was never and Jacob's right, but it was never comfortable. Like it's
I know.
You lose
Right.
you lose series that you shouldn't lose. You're splitting series with the Cardinals that you shouldn't split. And yeah, Kinner's right. It gives you the momentum, but when we look at what the Reds are and who they're going to be this season, it just doesn't do a lot for me still. And I wish it did, especially if you lose Hunter Greene.
Gavin Lux, another multi-hit game last night, was starting to kind of panic. We keep talking about water. Your big thing, Elliot, is water will reach its level at some point, and we always talk about that sometimes with the guys who aren't playing well, and assuming that they're going to finally return to form. But also you have guys that we're not trusting, like we're enjoying what we're seeing from some of these guys like Trevino and Lux, and obviously whenever he's healthy, Austin Hayes. But water always reaches its level. That could be a bad thing because these guys could all of a sudden crash and come back to life or come back to normal a little bit from based on what their career performance numbers are. It was nice to see Gavin Lux kind of get back at it because I started to be like, all right, he peaked. He had his little hot run. Now he's coming back down to earth a little bit, and we don't know how much longer Austin Hayes is going to be out. Sounds like he could potentially be back as early as tomorrow. That'd be great. But yeah, getting a little nervous seeing some of these guys start to fade off a little bit offensively. Stevenson got another hit last night, but to see a multi-hit game from Gavin Lux has to make people feel a little bit more comfortable that, okay, he hasn't lost it. He's still there. He just had a couple off games.
At some point, I am going to have to just believe in Gavin Lux as being one of this team's best players.
Yeah.
And I know that that's not necessarily the highest bar to be one of the Reds' best players, but he is, and he has been through damn near 40 games. So what else can you really ask for? And the sample size is pretty big. I mean, it's obviously these 40 games, but he was an elite player the entire back half of last year after he came off the injured list, and we kind of rolled our eyes at that sentiment going into this season, saying, "Oh, you're highlighting just half the season, a very small portion of his entire career." But he's carried that success into the first 40 games of this season to a level that I would even venture to say the most optimistic Gavin Lux fans wouldn't have expected this far into the season. So yeah, it's great. I think he should be pretty close to being considered an everyday player at this point. I mean, I know he's forced there with injuries and everything like that, but even when Hayes gets back, how can you justify taking him out of the lineup? I know it's splits or splits, but man, you don't got a lot of good bats on this team, and you got a guy hitting 300.
Yeah, Gavin Lux has to be in the. I mean, there's a couple guys that have to be in the lineup when the offense is as bad as the Reds have it. So, Gavin Lux has been what Nick Krall hoped he would be when he made that trade.
Get crawled.
Get crawled. I'm hoping he can continue it because he has to. And I'm very hopeful Austin Hayes is able to return tomorrow because they desperately need him. But it just goes back to the point that, the Reds roster needed more. They needed more than what we got this past offseason. So hopefully the guys that we have are able to play up and step up and take that next step. And hopefully they're able to get some momentum, like Kinner said, and move on. I just think when you're running out Jacob Hurtubise and Blake Dunn as much as they do, it's difficult. It's difficult to produce runs with the way a lot of this lineup is. And again, I know Gavin Lux is hitting well. For what it's worth, I think TJ Friedl's had an underrated season. Ellie De La Cruz is still Ellie. He's hitting 270 on the year, 340 OBP. The rest of the team needs to step up, and they have to step up at some point. Tyler Stevenson had a big hit last night. Good for him. I just need to see more. And they can't. And you talk about like losing. Are the Reds able to lose any guys and be able to sustain winning? If they lose a Gavin Lux, if they lose an Ellie, if they lose an Espinal, I don't know if they're going to be able to recover from that offensively because they're already struggling. So that's where I need guys to stay healthy. I need guys to tough it out. I don't know what else there is to say. You have so many guys that are injured right now for the Reds. You have to take advantage when Gavin Lux is healthy, when Ellie's healthy. You just have to. I saw this from Lance McAllister yesterday. I thought it was interesting. 234 players are on the injured list so far this year in Major League Baseball. Dodgers lead the league with 14 injured players. Orioles are second in the league with 13. The Tigers, Yankees, and Reds are in third with 11. Here's the difference between the Yankees, Dodgers, Orioles, and the Reds. The Reds don't have the depth there to deal with it. They've got starting pitching depth, but outside of that, they do not have the depth to deal with these injuries. So when you have guys that are healthy and available, before the Titanic sinks, you got to take advantage. You have to win games. You have to beat the Marlins. You have to beat the Cardinals. You have to. Because eventually, we talk about water finding its level. Well, for some reason, this Reds team, that level is just everybody being hurt and unable to play. And I don't understand it. I've never understood it. The questions that go into the medical staff, I think, are unfounded. But at some point, you have to look at it and be like, I don't know what's going on here. Who can we point at and say, this is somebody's fault, right? I mean, the Reds seem like I would have to go back in the past few years and see where they rank amongst injured players. But I've said this many times on this show. The past several years, they've set franchise records for most players used because either they don't have talent or they're all hurt. And it seems to be a consistent problem that no one's been able to fix. So, yeah, I mean, we can take this series with a grain of salt, but I'm worried about Hunter Greene. I'm worried about Austin Hayes not being able to come back. Noelvi Marte, for some reason, that story just gets swept under the rug. On the IL, was playing great, maybe the best out of any player on the Reds lineup since being called back up.
Playing great, hurt.
And he's been hurt the whole time.
He's been hitting 300 hurt.
He's been hurt the entire time. And there's not a single shred of reason as to why, And that's why the questions come into play, and that's why everybody gets so frustrated, because it comes out of nowhere. Jake Fraley, I don't know how much this injury is an injury, and I do get a little confused sometimes when it's the phantom IL stuff. Who knows what's actually real and what's not. Jake Fraley's dealing with another injury. He's dealing with, what was it, a calf tightness or something?
I did get a
calf
good laugh
soreness.
when you sent that.
At some point, you just got to play through it. I'm not a professional athlete. Take a look at me, but I think eventually, when so many guys go down, you have to play through it. You have to fight through the pain a little bit, because we need them. We need as many people as we can. I can't bear to watch Jacob Hurtubise and Blake Dunn any longer.
Especially when you have the opportunity. Like right now, when you were like Fraley, yeah, your calf or whatever it is, he's a little banged up, but like, they need some production in that outfield. I mean, you look at Friedl last night, the 2 home runs. Outside of that, obviously, Reese Hines gets called up. He goes 0 for 3. Hurtubise goes 0 for 4. right now this outfield is horrible with what they have out there outside of Friedl, who's, like you said, had a very underrated season up until this point. That's why getting Austin Hayes back could be huge for a lot of reasons if he is indeed back by this weekend with the Astros series. So with all of that being said, it's just kind of one of those where the injuries continue to stockpile. Now, I laughed when I saw that the Dodgers have the most injury. I mean, the poor Dodgers. I mean, can we all have a moment of silence for the poor Los Angeles Dodgers, please? They have more injuries than anybody else in baseball. What has that done? Well, they're only 25-12 and have a game and a half lead over a team that's 23-13.
We also have to remember that they traded Gavin Lux for Ha-Seong Kim, who they just called up from AAA
Correct.
to fill in for some of those injuries.
T's and
Not to
P's.
mention Bobby Miller, who was listed on that dream rotation to start the year, started the year in AAA, is filling in for injuries. The Dodgers AAA team, you give them a 7-game series against the old
Pirates?
fighting Redlegs.
They
Who are you taking?
Yeah, I at this point, I'd probably take the Dodgers AAA team. It's a crazy place to be, but welcome to Cincinnati.
Well, the good news is the Cincinnati Reds, as bad as they've played as of late, they do get that win last night. Unfortunately, you do lose Hunter Greene. For how long, we don't know. It doesn't sound like it's something super serious, but you still don't even want to be talking about Hunter Greene and injuries at all. But the Cubs have lost back-to-back games, so the Reds haven't fallen deeply within the central standings, for those who care about that at this point. But looking at this, 12-26, the Pittsburgh Pirates are already double digits back in the division.
That's
Yikes.
fun.
As bad as things feel in Cincinnati, as bad as we feel sometimes coming in here to talk about this Redlegs team, it could always be worse. 12-26.
That's the Pittsburgh Pirates for you.
Yep.
They will never be good, ever.
Yeah.
No matter what they try to do, no matter what player they develop and bring up, does not matter. The Pittsburgh Pirates will never be good.
Tough. We'll talk about them more coming up in a moment. We did see, Luis May last night in his first high leverage moment. He came in. We've seen a really great outing from him, a rough outing from him, and we saw him last night, and he looked pretty damn good.
He's fun, man.
So there's just an energy about him, too, that's a little bit different. It's like the Chapman. It's a little bit different.
Speaking of
I'd like to see
Chapman,
that. Yep.
Did you see what he did last night?
I saw it.
Holy cow, 104 miles an hour, fastest pitch in Major League Baseball this year.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Is he going to be peeing in the cup this week?
By the
probably.
way, it was thrown for a strike, too. It wasn't
Yeah.
like it was
yeah.
out of the zone.
It was, obviously it was fastball, but the catcher had zero chance of catching it.
No.
I mean, it hit his glove and popped out so fast and just hit the dirt. 104. I think it was 103 point, like either 8 or 9. I don't think they gave him 104 on the official clock, but that's what it said on the broadcast. It said 104. How old is he now?
35.
That's what I was saying. I mean, he's got to be up there. He's so good, man.
You guys
37.
37 years old, still pumping 104, and he does it not 104, but he does it every outing.
Yeah, he does.
102, 103, still. Man, he's fun. He is very high on my list of favorite Reds.
Yeah?
Very high. I remember when he would just come in and pump 104 in Cincinnati. I was 12 years old, and it was the coolest thing in the world.
He's 37. I'm 35. How hard do you think I could throw?
102.
Yeah. If we just move
If we put you
the
in a
mound,
car and you just hung it out the window.
If we just move the mound a
54.
little.
50, you can throw 54.
How close would the mound have to be for you to throw the equivalent of Aroldis Chapman?
There's only one way to find out.
that's the next.
Weather's
thing we've got.
beautiful.
Yeah.
We got time. Let's go. All right. We'll step away for a few moments. Yesterday, you guys went in on Nick Krall. You went in on the Reds front office. We just talked about the Pirates, 12-26, 10 games back in the Central already. But a lot of talk, not just about the Reds and Pirates, but a lot of teams in baseball where you're fortunate to develop sometimes generational talent. The Pirates and Reds both have generational talent right now. But why aren't the front offices for these organizations acting with a little bit more urgency? You're not promised to always get this. The last rebuild the Reds had, they did not get generational talent in that. They got good players. Suarez was solid. Winker was solid. You got some okay players during that stretch, but you didn't get generational talent. Hal Stevenson was a part of that. He's a very, very good catcher. He's not generational talent. Right now, the Reds have generational talent. The Pirates are fortunate to have that with Skeens. But why are these front offices sitting back and acting as if, if we don't win with these guys, there'll be more coming? That's not how this works. Which front office, the Reds or the Pirates, which of the front offices for those organizations have let their teams down more? We'll pick up with this when we come back. More Off the Bench next. We'll get into the Reds Pirates coming up here in a second. As far as their front office, the front office failures, if you will. I did want to highlight this real quick before we move on from the Reds. I know we're going to have Sam LeCure on later, and he's perfect to talk to about this as well. But we talked about Hunter Greene and how that could impact, how his absence could impact the rotation. But also the bullpen kind of makes what could be a short absence for him also not as alarming, just because we saw it last night. They had to, in a pinch, saw quite a few guys come out of the bullpen. Santillan was fantastic. Again, I know that Kirby spoke highly about him last night and his performance last night in Chatterbox Reds postgame. But the bullpen, too. We talked about how the rotation's good enough to kind of make its way through in a short absence of Hunter Greene, if that's the case. But the bullpen also is going to put them in position to where they could skate by if it is indeed a short absence.
You have to repeat it for me. Sorry. That was a bad one on my part.
No, you're fine. We talked about how the significance of the rotation as far as how they can get through without Hunter Greene if it's a short absence, but the bullpen's been pretty damn good too. How much does that weigh into how this kind of waters down the significance of a short absence of Hunter Greene?
Yeah, no, the bullpen's been good. And by the way, I was looking at Pirate stats for when we talk about it.
Yeah.
I have a very good Pirate stat. Anyway, the bullpen has been as good as I could have hoped. And remember, Jacob, when we had the show opening day, I said on that show I love the bullpen. I think Kirby was a little bit hesitant. But I'm pretty sure you and I were both lockstep that I think the bullpen could be very, very good.
We got killed for buying Graham Ashcraft in the middle of January.
Correct, and that was with Alexis Diaz being on the IL and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I think that if the bullpen is able to pitch like this, to give the starters all the help they can give, it's for the longevity of the season. That's all you can ask for, is to give you a chance. Tony Santillan has been incredible. I still believe Tony Santillan could be the closer of the Reds if they wanted to go that route. They're still rolling with Emilio Pagan, which is fine. I think you continue to roll with it for now. For me, I would personally move Emilio Pagan from that role. But as he gets his 9th save of the season, I mean, it's hard to do that. So, Emilio
It doesn't feel like a closer.
Well, just because he's not. I feel like he's not a massive strikeout guy. It's like. Guys are gonna have a chance. He's not gonna walk anybody, but guys are gonna have a chance to hit the ball.
Yeah.
And for the 2 blown saves or the 2 losses he had this year, that was pretty much it. The game against the Mariners where he came in, Jake Fraley hit that grand slam in the bottom half of the 8th, top of the 9th. He comes in and he gives up back-to-back home runs. Pretty much the only bad outing he had. The other game was 2 nights ago when somehow Stuart Fairchild scored from first base, but.
Yeah, that was Emilio Pagan's fault.
Other than that, those are the only instances where he's struggled. So, as of right now, I'd continue with him in that role until he proves he can't. The guys like Taylor Rogers, who I loved coming into the season.
You thought he was the number 1 arm out of this bullpen?
I did, and he's been phenomenal.
He's been good.
He has a 1.5 ERA. I mean, I can't ask for more. Scott Barlow, he's been better. As obviously last night didn't go his way. But up until last night, he was going through a stretch where he was dominant. Ian Jabot, since blowing opening day, was really good, obviously on the IL now. Brent Suter has a 2.5 ERA. He gave up another run last night in 2 innings.
And the role he plays is just unbelievable.
Well, that's the thing about Brent Suter. It's like there's no set role. It's like when something.
That's kind of what I mean.
Yeah, I know. When something goes wrong, Brent Suter's going to clean it up.
Right.
Like that's what it is. So
Tommy Thrall on radio was talking yesterday when he replaced Hunter Greene that he doesn't think there's a bigger difference between 2 pitchers on any roster in Major League Baseball because Brent Suter obviously slow throwing lefty, Hunter fast throwing righty, but even Hunter's off-speed pitches are faster than Brent Suter's fastball. So big discrepancy between those two, and obviously it worked yesterday going from Greene to Suter for the Reds.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, the bullpen, for what they've done this year, they've been as good as we could possibly hope for.
Absolutely.
And to be quite honest, it furthers the point that, not to make relievers sound unimportant, but it's almost like you don't have to pay relievers. You don't have to pay them. I'm okay with paying just about everybody else. But when it comes to relievers, you can find so much value and depth somewhere in your organization to come up and do that. Like, nobody thought, at least I didn't think, that Tony Santillan was going to come up here and be as good as he was the past several years. Like, I didn't think that was possible. Nobody thought Alexis Diaz was going to be as good as he was when he came up. He came up out of nowhere. and became one of the National League's best closers. Obviously, he's not with the Reds right now, but there's so much value and depth inside your organization for those positions that you don't need to go out and sign a $20 million closer. You don't
That's
need
why
to,
Nick Martinez is starting.
That's correct. That is correct. So for what the Reds have done with the bullpen over the past few years, for much grief as I give them about not spending on the offense and helping that, even though that was a blatant issue and they didn't fix it, I do think I do have to give them a lot of credit for what they've done with this bullpen, because I remember 3 years ago in 2021, or 4 years ago now, 2021, I remember that bullpen being so untrustworthy. The starters would do great, the offense would contribute, and then the bullpen would come in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and they'd be unable to get it. They would be unable to get outs. So, you have to have guys you can trust in those roles, because you mentioned, Luis May and that high leverage. Every inning the bullpen comes in my opinion, is high leverage. It's just you have to further that point if your starters are going 6 innings every single game, and that's what they've done so far. How many guys have struggled? I don't have the ERAs in front of me right now, but how many relievers have truly struggled this season for the Reds? There was Ian Jabot, who did it earlier on, Scott Barlow, and then there's Alexis Diaz. Outside of that, every single player that comes up to the mound past the 5th inning is lights out.
Yeah.
And not a lot of teams have that.
And I think the biggest thing here that's kind of crazy for Reds fans is not only has the bullpen been elite, but the starting rotation has been great too. And we talk about it a lot on the show. But if they do go 6, 7 innings, you have the utmost expectation that your 8th and 9th inning guy are going to get it done and get you the win.
Yeah.
And if they go 5 innings, you have faith in Brent Suter or Graham Ashcraft to get you those 2 or 3 innings, to get you to a point where your late bullpen guys can come in. So that's why I think the offense has been so frustrating for Reds fans, is because there's not a single way that you could map out a game on the mound where you think we're out of it.
Yeah.
We lost Hunter Greene after 3 innings yesterday. Brent Suter comes in and we win the game. That doesn't work for teams. You don't have those bridge guys, and we have 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
And maybe the best one at it in all of Major League Baseball is currently in our starting rotation because we feel like he has to be there because of the money. So the bullpen could get even better. It's unbelievable. I wasn't nearly as high on it as Elliot was, but I also didn't understand why some people were, thinking it was going to be a weakness of this team. It's certainly been a strength, and that's going to be something that I think keeps this team afloat when the offense is going through these, peaks and valleys that Nick Kroll said all these years ago we were going to eliminate, that we somehow not done. The bullpen and the starting rotation is going to keep teams, under 3, under 4 runs, and that gives you a chance to win every game. And the Reds just have to become more competent on offense, and you have a chance to be competitive.
I'd have to go back and look, but a few of those Indians teams that Francona was leading during his stint in Cleveland, that's how the majority of the success that they all had, it was always because of the pitching in the bullpen. There was a lot of seasons for Francona-led Indians teams where they didn't have the most intimidating lineup every single night. But my gosh, no matter who they threw out there, no matter who they called up from their system, they were always getting production from their starters. They were able to move on from Bauer and some big-name pitchers, and they just kept rolling. No matter who they moved on from, they were just a well-oiled machine from a pitching standpoint. Now, that's an organizational success talking point. Francona gets a lot of credit for that when you hear how he's talked about when he was there, before here. But that is something that Francona has always had success with. He's always had very good rotations and bullpens, but he's always seemed to be in a spot where he's having to overcome lack of production when it comes to run production. Let me ask you, obviously, high leverage moments, when you're going to your bullpen and you have a lead, holding on to a lead is very, very important. But I also think what's made the bullpen's success this season so impressive is the fact that the pressure on them is as high as it is on the starter, because they're not getting run support. So you're taking over a lot of times when you have a 2-1 lead or you're scoreless. Or
you're down by 1.
Down
by
1-0. Yeah, and it feels like if I give up one more run, we are losing this game. You could be down 2, and a lot of teams, the Dodgers, others, they feel like, we can get back in this in 1 inning. The Reds, you're down 2, and it feels like there's no chance in hell you're going to win this ball game. That's why I find the bullpen's performances this season even so much more impressive, because it's all high-pressure moments that they're coming into. There's really no comfortable moments that these bullpens have had to come into. They rarely have large leads. They're never comfortable when they go out there. They're feeling as much pressure replacing the starter as the starter faced whenever the first inning got underway. So that's what that's what else I'm very impressed with as far as how they've handled those pressure moments coming in.
That's why I say every time they come out, it's high leverage because if they don't execute, the Reds' offense is unable to overcome whatever they give up. Whatever mistake they make, nobody can fix it. So they're there they're there for damage control every single night. In last night's game, there was still those stupid base running mistakes that the Reds continue to make, and it feels like nobody's ever going to be able to fix it. And it's stuff like that where it's a one-run game, everybody's giving it their all. The offense can't figure it out, and then they can't run the bases either or play defense. So it's the pitching staff going in every single night, every single inning, every single pitch, and it's like, if I don't execute, what's going to happen here? We're going to lose. We're going to lose. So to have every single pitcher in this bullpen legitimately be fantastic outside of Alexis Diaz this year, it's something that I want to say, maybe 4 or 5 teams have it in Major League Baseball. Like the Chicago Cubs are unbelievable. I think they're a really good team. I think they're going to win this division relatively easily. Cubs don't have a bullpen, So there's a lot of teams out there that struggle when we get to that back half of the game, and whether or not you have a lead, you don't have guys that you can trust to close out games. The Reds do. The Reds have that.
All right, off the bench, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. Now we'll get to the Reds and Pirates segment. For our radio listeners, we head into hour number 2. Pirates front office, Reds front office. Both front offices have rosters that have generational talent on there. Why are they not acting with more urgency when it comes to bolstering these rosters? Which front office has let their teams down more? We'll discuss when we come back. Sam LeCure, part of Reds pre- and post-game shows, of course, with FanDuel Sports. He's going to join us coming up here later on in the program. Talked a lot of Reds in that first hour. Going to stay with the Reds here before we jump into the NFL for a brief moment. But Reds, Pirates, we talked about this yesterday, just the front office for the Cincinnati Reds. It just really feels like, they have some key pieces to the puzzle, but they refuse to put the whole puzzle together. And what's it going to take for them to go all in? I mean, hell, we talked about this basically yesterday with the Cincinnati Bengals. It's like you're very fortunate to have a Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase trio like that. You have Trey Hendrickson on the defensive side, and it's like you're very fortunate to have 4 key pieces like that. You're not promised to always have that type of talent in your organization. So when you have it, what are you going to do to try to maximize that talent? What are you going to do to take advantage of that window that you have that? Because, again, you're not promised to have that moving forward. We criticize the Bengals for that, and the Reds are just as guilty. You have a generational talent in Elly De La Cruz, and to be honest, the guy that we talked a lot about today that went out last night that we're hoping is not out very long, you have a generational talent right now in this organization with Hunter Greene at this point. So you have 2 generational talents, a pitcher and obviously a shortstop in Elly. What are you doing to maximize that? Although the Reds added some okay pieces in the offseason, it just never felt like they were financially committing to making sure that we're not going to waste a single season during the Elly De La Cruz era, the Terry Francona era, the Hunter Greene era. At what point are we going to feel like, oh, yeah, I could sense the urgency from the front office? I could actually feel like, oh, man, they are trying to win baseball games. I don't think any of us feel that this Reds organization is truly trying to win baseball games. I don't think they're trying to lose by any means, but I don't think they're truly grasping the importance and urgency of exactly the scenario that they're in and the talent that they have. You're not promised to get generational talent very often. We talked about it earlier. I said, look, their previous rebuild, they got okay talent that came through. You were able to get even Tyler Stevenson, very, very good. Very good. All right, he's one of the top catchers in baseball, but he's not a generational talent. Jonathan India, obviously you got during that rebuild and developed him pretty well. He wins Rookie of the Year. he was okay. You're going to get the Jonathan Indias of the world. You're going to get the Tyler Stevensons of the world. What you're not going to continue to get is Elly De La Cruz. You are not going to continue to get Hunter Greenes, although they've done very well with the development of their pitchers through the system. They have a couple nice pieces, obviously, Rhett Lauder, Burns, and others. But you're not promised to always get those pieces. So when you get them, you have to do everything in your power to maximize that. And we as Reds fans feel slighted when you look at what the front office has done, or technically not done. Pirates fans feel the same way. They probably feel actually just worse. I mean, we talked about having a Hunter Greene. They have a Paul Skeens, who obviously could be viewed as the best pitcher in baseball. The Pirates are fortunate to have that. And you have that piece right there. And it didn't impact the front office at all to make any kind of urgent moves in the offseason, because you're probably not going to afford Paul Skeens when it's all said and done. So you're only going to have him for a short window of time. Maximize that. Go all in. Do everything in your power to show your fan base that we are sorry that we can't keep him, but we did everything we could to try to win while he was here. Same thing with the Cincinnati Reds. If we are unfortunate and lose Elly De La Cruz to the Dodgers, or whoever, but most likely the Dodgers, years from now, if we are unfortunate enough as a fan base to have to bid farewell to Elly, I am praying that when we get to that point, that we are going to at least look at our front office and say, we hate it, we understand that you can't keep him, and we appreciate that you did everything you could in this stretch to find a way to keep him, but also to win with him. We don't feel that right now. The Pirates don't feel that right now. Which one of these front offices, in your opinion, do you believe has let down their fan base and their team more, the Pirates front office or the Reds front office?
The Pittsburgh Pirates, and this is when I wasn't listening to Kenner in the last segment, I was digging up these stats. The Pittsburgh Pirates, during December of 2016, that was the last time they signed a free agent to a multi-year deal. 2016 was the last time the Pirates signed a free agent to a multi-year deal. It was Ivan Nova. Every other team has signed a contract like that from 2022 on. It's been 9 years since the Pittsburgh Pirates have done it. If you look at the payroll rankings, nobody expects, these teams, the small market teams, to rank in the top half of payroll every year. The Pittsburgh Pirates have finished 27th or worse. 27th or worse in payroll since 2001, every year except for 3. 2001. That was, by the way, every single year up until 2001, they've been 20th or worse in payroll. They finished 19th in payroll in 2001, which I don't even think was the owner that they have right now. They finished 23rd in payroll in 2013. Outside of that, every single year has been 27th in payroll or worse. They give their team 0% chance, a 0% chance to win games, ever. The Reds, you can make fun of the Reds, and the Reds are in the back half of payroll more times than not. They can come in around the 25, sometimes the 26, and then you look at sometimes it'll be 18, 19, 17, 16. The Pittsburgh Pirates have never tried. Ever. I think that's crazy. So when you look at Paul Skeens, a generational superstar, and you hear his press conferences, and maybe that's just who Paul Skeens is. Maybe he's just kind of a boring guy. But there's less of a chance he stays with the Pittsburgh Pirates than anything. Out of any scenario that's ever happened, there is less of a chance that Paul Skeens stays with the Pittsburgh Pirates because they don't sign people. They don't do anything. They're just there to exist. And that's why when we talk about the lockout in 2027 or whenever that's going to be, there has to be a fix for this. You can't fix it all. There's always going to be rich teams and there's always going to be poor teams. But there can't be the $500 million discrepancy in rosters. It's just not fair. It's not fair to the players. It's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to the league. The Pittsburgh Pirates as an organization are a disgrace. The only reason that they're considered at least a little bit better than the Reds is because, unfortunately, they beat us in 2013. In 2013, they won the one-game playoff over us, Cueto. That was it.
You're letting Reed win that one, aren't you?
I have to give Reed that one because it counts.
And is Paul Skeens leaving Pittsburgh any more likely than Elly leaving Cincinnati?
I think I don't think Elly.
It's the exact same thing. We're the same franchise. They've just won playoff game more.
They've won one playoff game more.
Correct. Same amount of World Series.
Yeah. I like to think that despite what I think of ownership here in Cincinnati, they're a little bit better than what I complain about. Not a lot better. A little bit better than what I complain about. They've tried. They've swung and missed a hell of a lot. Jeimer Candelario, loss. Mike Moustakas, loss. But they've been able to spend when that time was right, when they thought that they could try to do it. They haven't won anything, and that's the one thing that you can look at and say, all right, clearly the Pirates have a little bit of an edge because despite their lack of spending on anybody and anything, they still have that 2013 win over the Reds. And that's a fair point. But when you don't sign a multi-year free agent deal since 2016, and you expect to be considered a major league franchise, that's a joke.
Would you trade our multi-year free agency deals to advance in the playoffs once in your lifetime? Because I sure would.
Yeah, I would.
Like, I think in Cincinnati, we view ourselves as a franchise very differently. And it's actually something Elliot and I were talking about a couple weeks ago. I think we're aided by the fact that the big personalities on ESPN, on CBS, on these sports shows were kids when the Reds were good.
Yeah.
I think that helps how the Reds are viewed immensely throughout baseball. We're not talked about like we're a bottom-of-the-barrel franchise that hasn't advanced in the playoffs since 1995. Because the people talking about it were kids during the Big Red Machine, and they saw the wire-to-wire in 1990. Like, that helps the Reds so much in terms of how they're viewed nationally. In my lifetime, they have been in that boat with the Pirates and with these other bad teams. I don't understand how we can view it as a massive discrepancy.
Yeah, and like the Reds brand too, obviously, and this ties into what you're saying, is the Reds have a stronger brand as well. Like when I've been in Los Angeles, when I've gone to New York, when I do venture out of Ohio from time to time, I'll see Reds hats, I'll see Reds apparel out and about. I don't see Pirates apparel anywhere. Like the Reds, that from that Reds brand perspective. Now, the reason I bring this up is because again, both organizations have generational talent, and it just feels like both organizations are letting down their fan base and their teams as a whole. The one thing that I don't think the Reds get enough credit for, and again, just because you swing doesn't mean you're going to hit a home run, but at least the Reds swing. The Pirates just hold the bat at the plate every single time. They don't make that effort. I mean, if we go back to, the 2019 into 20, when the Reds really were trying. You obviously have Luis Castillo at that time. They traded for a Sonny Gray. All right, they gave up a lot of pieces to go get a Trevor Bauer. Like, they did everything they could to have very strong key pieces in that rotation. They did, Moustakas did not work out, but I don't think were any of us booing that decision when they went to get Moustakas at the time. I didn't know you guys did.
He had, what, 60 doubles in Milwaukee?
Yeah, like 75 extra base hits in Milwaukee.
So we all cheered that when it happened. I'm assuming you guys did. I was like, oh, that's a hell of a move. Cool. I'm happy that the Cincinnati Reds pulled that off.
I bought a Moustakas jersey over a Castellanos jersey that summer. It's the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life.
Castellanos was a fantastic pickup. He was an all-star, right? Like Shogo Akiyama, I know that did not work out, but I remember there was a lot of buzz and excitement. They kicked out so many people out of the media room because they had to make a ton more room to welcome in Japanese media to cover that exact situation. There was a buzz and an excitement for Cincinnati Reds baseball because the front office said, all right, enough's enough. Let's go for it. Let's go all in. It just didn't work out. The Pirates have the Pirates front office has failed their fan base and their organization way more than the Reds. The Reds front office deserves criticism because at the end of the day, it's all about winning. But there are at least times with this front office and ownership, as much as they have not done a good job, there have been multiple times where you could look at them and say, okay, you're doing something from time to time. We just want to see it more. And I would like to see more during this stretch, especially with Elly De La Cruz and Hunter Greene, because deep down we know Hunter Greene's not. Elly De La Cruz is not going to be a long-term Red. But I could forgive the Reds organization if they let him go, if they do everything they can to win while he's here. I think that's a fair trade-off. But what I don't want to see is this half-ass approach every single offseason and then bid farewell to Elly, because at that point, there is no point in being a Reds fan. I don't care how negative that sounds. If they don't try to win while Elly's here, I'll just give up being a Reds fan at that point, because that means nothing will trigger that front office to prioritize winning. Like the Bengals, if Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins does not motivate you to do something that you've never done before, then there's not a single player in the future that will get that front office to change their ways as well. So that's what's fun about the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins era. That's what's fun about this Hunter Greene and Elly De La Cruz era. We feel like these types of stars are going to motivate the front office to do something different. sometimes it feels like they are, and other times they remind you why they're the Bengals and why they're the Reds, and that's what's frustrating at times.
Yeah, I mean, I am very, very hard on Reds ownership. Very, very hard. But when you compare those two organizations and how they're run,
Not even close.
it's just night and day. I know the Reds don't have any success, and that's a fair point. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Pirates are in another level of sad. Jeff Passan, he's been going on media tours over the last year, just destroying that organization, and he should, because they make the sport worse because they exist. And I don't think that's been the case with the Reds. I think there's been, not that I want to blame bad luck, but there's been a lot of bad luck. There's been a lot of things that haven't gone the Reds' way. And if the Reds look at this window right now, and Jacob and I have said this, I've said this, if the Reds go through this window with Hunter Greene and Nick Lodolo and Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McClain and Spencer Steer and Andrew Abbott, and they go through this stretch, and Tyler Stevenson, if they go through this stretch without making the postseason, what are we doing? What do we have to look forward to? If they're not going to be able to capitalize on this, who's to say they're ever going to be able to capitalize? I'm not going to say it because they haven't. This ownership group has failed time and time again. If you are unable to have these generational superstars that honestly, I know we've had Joey Votto and I love Joey Votto, we've never seen before. You know, we got the cover of MLB The Show, Ellie De La Cruz on this team. Hunter Greene's been phenomenal. He's probably going to be on the cover of MLB The Show soon, after he wins a Cy Young this year. You have so much talent, and you're not going to be able to win, make the playoffs. I'm not even asking for. Nobody's asking for realistically a World Series. Do I want one? Yeah. Do I expect it? Never. But to not make the playoffs with this group of guys, crazy to me. It's just crazy to me. And that's a result, as you know, when we see clear issues with the team last year. What was our issue? You couldn't score runs. There was no way to move guys on the base path outside of Ellie De La Cruz stealing everything. That was it. That's the only way the Reds scored. And that issue was not fixed this year. And that's where I get frustrated. They've got like 3 more years of this window. You have to make the postseason. You have to, or they will never make the postseason. I mean, there would be no reason to support the Reds any further if they can't win during this stretch, during this time.
I think that's another important piece of this whole thing, too, is I see a lot of people saying, it's still early. We got this whole window, and these guys are all young. Window's ticking.
Yeah.
How many seasons we got left? We got 120 games left this year. We got next year. We got a year everyone thinks going to be a lockout. And then you have the decision year.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of time. So they have to try at some point.
I would agree with those people in the chat more if Spencer Steer we knew for sure was a lock at first or whatever. Let's just give him a designated position, right? Like at first. If we knew exactly who our first baseman was for the next couple of years, if we knew, like we hope it's Marte, like hopefully this injury doesn't rattle what he was doing in the short stint before that injury. Like I think I think the reason we started getting overly excited about this is because we thought Christian Encarnacion Strand was about to be a star. We thought Noelvi Marte was about to be a star, and to be fair, he's closer than Christian is at this point. Matt McClain to me is the linchpin in all this, because if McClain, right now we were hoping it's just a little bit of a drought, but if McClain's not good, that throws a huge wrench in all of this, in my opinion. I do think that it throws a huge wrench in all of that to say it's early, because I thought we were a lot closer because I thought we had less holes to fill. And all of a sudden now we're like, well, what do we do at first base? Second, we thought was locked in, but what if it's not? What if Matt McClain is not who we were expecting him to be? The outfield has a lot of holes to fill as well. Austin Hayes, he's been great, but guys, we only signed him to a 1-year deal. Yeah. And he may look at the Reds. The Reds could try to approach him now and try to get an extension done. But if I'm Austin Hayes and he comes back this weekend and can stay healthy the rest of the way, I'd be like, Reds, thank you. But I'm going to test my luck in free agency if I go to continue to have a big season in Cincinnati the rest of the way. So as good as he's going to be the rest of the year, you hope, he's not a long-term fit right now either unless you do get that extension done. So I would agree with them more if there wasn't as many question marks as far as who your first baseman is, who your outfield is. There's just, in second base, there's just a lot of holes still on this team for me to say that, well, there's still a lot of time left. We're running out of time, running out of players.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. But
no, you're out of the lifelines. Those semi-guaranteed, as guaranteed as they can be, prospect lifelines you can call up and inject youth and talent and fun into this team, you're out of them. So, yeah, it's not great.
All right, off the bench, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. We'll be right back. Sam LeCure going to join us coming up here in just about 10 minutes or so. Appreciate him taking some time and coming on with us. Yesterday, joking with him, just, hey, we need an infusion of positivity. And he said, are you sure I'm the guy that you...
Well, hopefully.
But he is the guy, as far as that's concerned. He'll join us coming up here shortly. Kelsey Conway tweeted this out a little bit ago, or posted this on X earlier this morning. I know we talked about Geno Stone yesterday. We talked about what the Bengals could potentially do with some of the money that they freed up. And I know we looked at some of the remaining available free agents and who the Bengals could target, this, that, and the other. We're trying to figure out what the exact plan for the Bengals is. Is this money that they're freeing up just to get that, not to extend Trey Hendrickson, but just to increase his pay for the upcoming season, pad that, and then slap him on the ass on the way out and say, good game, best of luck on your future endeavors. We don't know what the Bengals are doing. But I was listening to a clip, and we don't have the clip, but it was Jay Morrison and Paul Dehner Jr. Paul Dehner Jr. weighed in on the Geno Stone thing, was kind of critical a little bit of the Bengals more so than Geno, of blindly just accepting a pay cut. Like, Geno Stone, it's not as if he was going to get cut if he didn't take the pay cut. Why would you just willingly agree to take less money? And that was an interesting thought, because Kelsey Conway's post on X earlier said Geno Stone was, and she says forced, Geno Stone was forced to take a pay cut by the Bengals. The team didn't tell him where the money that they'll be saving is going, but it's for a reason, she says. Geno Stone says, at the end of the day, if you're taking a pay cut, they're trying to clear up space for a reason. So if that's the case, hearing that clip from Paul Dehner Jr. and then reading this quote from Kelsey Conway, I guess the question I have is, if Geno Stone didn't take that pay cut, were they going to cut him?
Yeah.
Simple as that?
Yes. 100%. Same as Zach Moss.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I
just
think
like the Mixon thing from a few years
exactly.
ago.
And I think we have two more of those exact same things coming that we've brought up over the last couple of days on this show. Cordell Volson will either be cut or be restructured from that $3 million number, and Jermaine Pratt will either be cut or restructured down from that number. I think these are ultimatums given by the Bengals front office to give themselves wiggle room, whether it is for an external free agent, whether it is to figure out Trey Hendrickson, I don't know. But I think these are absolutely ultimatums for these players, that if you want to stay in Cincinnati, you will be restructured or you will be moved on from, because this is something the Bengals, well, we do kill them for contract structure and guaranteed money and what they give out in free agency. This is something that they give themselves the opportunity to do basically every single offseason, which has saved them on a lot of those contracts they whiffed on. I mean, imagine if they structured free agency contracts like most of the rest of the league, and we're talking about Sheldon Rankins in the middle of this defensive line going into week 1.
Yeah.
Exactly. But they didn't put any money past year 1, so they just moved on from him. Same thing with Geno Stone. No serious guaranteed money here in the second year of that 2-year deal. So if he wants to be a Bengal next year, you do what the Bengals want you to do. Does it hurt him with the Jamar Chases, the T. Higgins, the Trey Hendricksons, the Joe Burrows of the world? Absolutely. And that's why, we've kind of been kicked in the butt with how those negotiations have been handled and having to push those down the line more than we wanted to. But it helps them immensely with that middle tier, lower tier of free agents, because if you don't hit, you have the ability to move on from them without being dragged down for years and years and years. So kudos to the Bengals in terms of getting these done and bringing these ultimatums to the table and having a restructure format that is enticing enough to these players that they don't want to test the open market and try to get another deal.
Maybe it's a testament to the Bengals culture. I don't know. I like to think that if you're willing to stay and play for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Zach Taylor, I don't know. Maybe they're doing something right. That's how I like to look at it. If you're willing to take a pay cut and you're able to stay in Cincinnati and try to win, try to build something here and be a part of it, I think it says something. I don't know how much money he would get on the open market. I don't know how much money he's going to be worth, to a different NFL organization. But for the Cincinnati Bengals, I like to think that, people are able to take pay cuts because they want to be a part of this.
And we've heard Justin Simmons, Dalton Risner already this offseason, two of the top free agents at positions of need, say they want to play for the Bengals if that offer was given to them. So I know this team's missed the playoffs the last 2 years. The players in the NFL don't seem to view it any differently than they did 3 years ago when it comes to being a contender and being something you want to be a part of.
I will say, to the point of the Paul Dehner Jr. clip and why he was disappointed in the Bengals.
You saw that, right? Like, did you see the one? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he has a point, and if getting cut was an option on the table, that's such a bad practice for them, right? I mean, you have 3 safeties on the roster that you feel comfortable with. Like, you wouldn't even have a full safety room. So that's why it's weird, because unless they feel like Dak still can go back there, or he's just, going to float everywhere, which I think would be, again, a bad move on the team's part. It just doesn't make sense to cut him, and then you force him to take a pay cut or get cut. I don't know, it just is weird to me. The whole sentiment of it is...
Mike's not on.
Oh, man, you made some great points, too.
That's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate. I had my mic turned off for other reasons. But, yeah, I mean, it just is – it's a weird sentiment because you're risking not having depth there at safety if you are going to cut Geno Stone. I mean, you go in there with, 3 safeties. You're basically put in an impossible spot as the franchise. That's why I feel like it's so weird for even Geno Stone to have accepted it anyways, because the Bengals would have been in a really rough spot if they did decide to cut him. I mean, I don't feel comfortable with Justin Simmons being the guy to start all year long. That's just another Von Bell. I like him as depth. I like all the guys that we're talking about in free agency as depth guys.
Every single guy we're talking about in free agency, I would start over Geno Stone, by the way. So we view that incredibly differently.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, though. I would have them compete for the starting job, but I'm just saying, I don't want them to start all 1,000+ snaps that they would be required to play. Neither of those guys. I don't think any of them are good answers.
Every time I've talked about Justin Simmons, my plan has been that he is playing every single snap for this Bengals defense as a starting safety. That should be the goal in my eyes. I
don't think that's a good plan. But
he was 15 spots better than Geno Stone in every metric last year.
Again, he's an older guy. The process of doing that would be not good. That's not a good way to build the roster.
You would want an amazing way to build the roster.
You would want to have
better players at position.
No. You would want Geno Stone as the backup, is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you said Geno Stone would have to start.
No, I want them to compete. If he beats out Geno Stone, then good. Geno Stone's the backup, but I don't expect that position to be someone that's there all 17 games, every single snap on defense. That's what I'm getting at. I don't think that Justin Simmons playing 1,000+ snaps is smart at 33
2. That's just Von Bell. That's Von Bell 2.0, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Again,
Von Bell's one of the worst
cutting
safeties in the league in
Stone.
Carolina.
You're missing the point. Cutting Stone is like you have 3 safeties on the roster. That's a bad way to build the roster if you're forcing him to get cut or take a pay cut.
But if you replace him with someone that's better, how is that a bad roster practice?
Do you trust?
That's what I don't understand.
Trust that they would though.
Yeah, I think if you cut Geno Stone, I think you absolutely are adding a safety. Yeah.
And I'm not arguing. I'm just
Now I don't know that they will. Now that they restructured him, probably would say they probably
now.
wouldn't.
I just meant.
But
like,
if they cut him and saved the whole $2.5-3 million, yeah, absolutely.
all right, fair enough. But no, because I had no issue with the restructuring at all of that contract. But then when I heard when I heard that clip from Paul Daniel Jr., it just kind of got me thinking a little bit in regards to that. And a lot of times too, the Bengals use the leverage of, all right, if we cut you now though, you're going to take a pay cut and still be left with a higher salary than what you're probably going to get out on the free agent market.
And you give them more guarantees.
Now, the interesting thing about that, they pulled that with Mixon a few years ago because I did not think that he would get – the contract he got with Houston. And let's not act like so when he took that pay cut, he had it in that season. He had an okay year. It wasn't a great year to all of a sudden just build confidence around the NFL that he's worth that $25 million contract. Good for Houston for pulling the trigger on it. Good for Joe Mixon. And he had a great year last year. But I will say, I don't even think Joe Mixon expected to get the money he did. Do you think that he did?
I don't think the Texans expected him to give him that money based on the draft capital they gave up for him. So, yeah, I don't know. That was certainly a shock to me. Texans certainly have had some questionable team building over the last few years. You have a terrible O-line, which neglects your young quarterback's development this year, and then you cut your starting guard and trade your starting left tackles. So, good luck to Houston, man. Drafted 3 wide receivers this year, though.
At least Mixon paid off. At least they got their money's worth, at least in year 1.
That's true. That's true.
If that continues. I know we'll step away for a few. We're going to dive back into the Cincinnati Reds with Sam LeCure coming up here around the corner when he jumps on with us. More off the bench when we return. All right, and we are back off the bench. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Ruring, and Jacob Tissett. We've been a little down lately about the Reds. The Reds have been a little down, too. I don't think we could deny that. We sent out an SOS to our friend of the show, Sam LeCure. I said, hey, look, the guys, we're all getting a little down about the team. The fans are getting down. So he has a job to do. He has to bring the positivity to the show. Can you do that, Sam? Are we able to do that today?
Yeah, I can. I don't think that should be too tough of a sell, to be honest with you.
I like that. He's off to a good start, guys. He's off to a very good start. No, so they end the 4-game losing streak last night, obviously, and have a chance to actually leave Atlanta as bad as the first couple games were. They have a chance to leave Atlanta tonight with a split. Can't, complain about that. They do get the big win last night, but unfortunately what has everybody talking, they lose Hunter Greene. For how long, that's still the big question.
Yeah, that was of all the things that have gone on injury wise with this team so far this year. That's a pretty big one. I mean, that's the Ellie of your pitching staff right there. So imagine going a couple weeks without Ellie. It's going to be tough on anybody, but it's been a tough go for this team so far already, and I think that that's why I'm surprised that people are down. It it's people who just look at a box score. You know, they're not watching the game. They're not paying attention to the transactions and who's up and who's down. And I mean, Steer starts the season hurt. McLean missed a year last. I mean, they're just not putting all the pieces together. Austin Hayes, Tyler Stevenson, blah blah blah. You know, like I mean, I could go down the list, and the fact that this team's 500. I looked somewhere the other day and it said that the Reds' strength of schedule to this point has been one of the weakest in baseball. Obviously, somebody who put that together has numbers to back that up. I disagree with it because I watch every game. The people that are making decisions or deciding to be down on the Reds right now, you're not watching every game. And I know that obviously that's a big time commitment to watch every game of baseball because it's long and it's every day. But you got to fall in love with it over time, man. So for me, I'm proud of them for being at 500 right now with all the ups and downs they've had, with all the huge slumps that they've had, you know. And yes, they showed the type of team that they can be for that stretch run, but they had everybody there. You know, maybe not Tyler, but pretty much they had everybody else there. Noel V. Marte was clicking. I mean, there's a lot to be optimistic about with this team.
Sam LeCure with us. You mentioned Hunter Greene. Obviously, it's never a good thing when he misses any start. But when you consider how good the pitching staff has been, not just the rotation, but the bullpen as well, how good of a rotation bullpen is this to be able to sustain, whether it's a short or lengthy absence of Hunter Greene? If you want to put a positive on it, that's been the strength of this team. Is it still good enough to withstand a short or long absence of Hunter Greene in the process?
It's certainly good enough to withstand a short one. A long one, I don't want to talk about it because I don't think this is going to be a long one. Is it good enough? Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it, I guess is what I'd say. And I love the guys. I mean, I love Nick Lodolo. I love Brady Singer. I think has been outstanding. Andrew Abbott. Yes, I love. So, but those are more until Nick Lodolo becomes the Nick Lodolo that I believe him to be. Nick Lodolo right now is a game manager. You know, he's going to give you 6 with 2 or 3 runs allowed, which is a good start. Don't get me wrong. But until he rounds into the form that I think he's capable of, which is a number one, a guy that can go out there and just punch out the world on command type of deal. No, I don't think they can withstand a long absence of Hunter, but I do think they can withstand it in the short term. They've done that to this point. You know, I already wrote my little slate for tonight, you know, my little nerdy segment with the high, you know, the 5 head when y'all were talking about last night. Or the last time we were on when I was in the airport, you're like, yeah, you're going to have any hair on that slate this year? I was like, bro, I ain't got no hair already anyway. Why do you think I'm wearing a cowboy hat? But I already wrote it for tonight, and it was kind of the title of one was Engine question mark. You know, it's like, who's the engine that's driving this train? And I believe that it is and will continue to be the pitching staff, but they've only won games when they've scored runs. The pitching staff has kept them in every game, but they haven't gone out and just won the 3-2 game. You know, they've got shut out 1-0 a bunch of times, all this stuff. The offense has to be like 1A, you know, I mean, it can't be the pitching staff drives and the offense follows along because that hasn't happened to this point. So the offense might be the most important piece of this deal because the pitching just is what it is now. And it can be the engine that drives the train, but, you know, this offense has to score some runs and they've got to do it consistently. And they'll do that when they have a consistent lineup and when Matt McLean wakes up from this little slumber.
Well, we're not medical doctors here on this program, and maybe Sam is the closest to a medical doctor. But let me ask you this real quick: when we talk about injuries on this Reds team, I feel like we've run into them more than any other team in Major League Baseball. At least that's what it feels like here. Is there truth to that, or is that just a fan's perception here in Cincinnati that we're more injured than everybody else?
It's a little bit of both, if it can be that, because I mean, I was even flustered last night on the show a little bit. I was like, good God, man, because A lot of friends follow and they want to kind of text about something during the game. And it's like Hunter goes down. It's injury is the death of the Reds. And it has felt that way for a little while now, but every team is injured.
Yeah.
Every team's injured. I'll say that. I mean, you can go. I mean, run through the division, and you're going to be hard pressed to find a team who doesn't have a key player that's on the injury list. So it does feel like it a lot here, but we watch these guys every day, right? We're just more aware of it than say. I've got buddies that are big Yankee fans, Red Sox fan, Astros fans, Cubs, whatever, Dodger fans, from all over the country, from all my travels. And, so I keep up with those guys, with those teams pretty good. They're hurt too. I mean, the Dodgers, I could probably go pitch for the Dodgers right now. Their pitching staff's so depleted. If that tells you how hurt a team is, I could probably slide into the rotation in the number 3 spot. But every team's hurt, but it does feel like it here. And the difference in Cincinnati is those other teams are built a little bit differently to withstand that because they got a bunch of money. They can go out and their 26th man could damn near start here. I mean, I don't mean that against any of the Reds players, but I mean, it's just kind of an example that they can withstand it a little better because they can provide more depth to their organization by spending money. The Reds can't do that. They have to draft and develop. And if the guys that they draft and develop aren't ready when their time's called. I mean, Rhys Hines has been hot lately, and he comes up and he looks like he's swinging it, blindfolded. It's a different game. You have to prepare these guys. So if the Reds don't create their depth internally, it's going to be tough for them to withstand the injuries that they've had, and they have had a lot of them, which again is why kind of my first point off the top was I don't know why people are down. They're 500 and they haven't had their full roster once, not one day.
Let me ask you this. Do you think this year's roster is drastically different, or let me just say more improved from last year's roster? Because I think the big question this year was the offense, and I don't know if the offense was addressed as much as the fans wanted, but Gavin Lux has been incredible. Austin Hayes, before the injury, was incredible. Guys like Noelvi Marte, who you didn't expect to be up, have been incredible. Do you think this roster this year is better enough from last year to make a postseason run?
Yes. That's going to be just my short. Yes, I do. Jose Trevino, I mean, what an addition he's been. All the guys they brought in, Brady Singer, Gavin Lux, Austin Hayes, Jose Trevino. Other than Hayes not being on the field every single game, is there anything more you would ask of those guys?
No.
No, you brought them in to supplement the core players that need to take their asses a step forward. And that's why I'm kind of not on Matt McClain yet, because I still think he's their best player. Ellie's the superstar. I think Matt McClain's their best player, or will be. He missed a year of Major League at-bats, man. It's not easy. He made it look pretty easy his rookie year. Right now, he's just kind of caught in between. But they brought those guys in to supplement what they have here, which the players they have here are really good. Ellie's really good. McClain's really good. Noelvi's pretty damn good. TJ's having a nice year. I feel like they brought in the right guys. I think if they can get this group on the field together, man, I don't want to say by the end of May. I want it to happen sooner than that, because that means Hunter's on the field. I'd be surprised if they don't win the division.
I love it.
I'd be a little bit surprised if they didn't win the division.
That's fine. That's good enough for me to put a little bet on it later today. You are listen now.
Every time I come in here, every time I come on this show, I'm losing your money.
Yeah, listen,
So
you guys have improved that this year.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say you've improved that this year. The FanDuel parlay has been a lot better this year.
Yeah, I've told you they pick it. I have thought that I needed, because of the job, I thought I was supposed to be a homer and just agree with everything they said. But I've actually been trying to give my honest opinion of it. Like the other night, I was like, Brady Singer's not going to get 5 strikeouts. Last night I said, oh my God, maybe I jinxed Hunter. Because I said the only way that Hunter Greene doesn't get 4 strikeouts tonight, and I almost said if he gets injured. I said, is if there's a rain delay, he gives up 7 runs in the second inning or whatever it was, and then it happened. I was like, but he got it. He hit the parlay. But that's the most important thing. But no, I mean, I think we've done better this year because I think we've won a handful of them. But man, it's difficult. Like, buddies of mine will send me the stuff, and I'm like, bro, one, don't do that. And 2, it is just impossible to predict because it looks like all that stuff, like, yeah, that could absolutely happen. The other night, a buddy of mine sent me something like this, or whatever the case was, and it was going to pay out like $1,500. I'm like, that absolutely seems like that should happen. And like, not even close. Didn't hit a damn one of them. So that betting thing's pretty wild. But I told somebody before the year that, and I don't know all the betting restrictions for broadcasters and stuff like that. I don't bet. I like to know exactly how I'm going to lose my money, and I'm pretty good at that anyway. So, but I said I would have bet $500 on the Reds to win the division. And I don't know what the payout on that would have been, or if I wanted to be real greedy, I would have put $500 on them to win the World Series. Now, I still believe they have a path to win this division. I think the Cubs are playing out of their shoes a little bit. And I don't think the Reds, Ellie hadn't even been warm, hardly. He had like a 20-game hitting streak. He wasn't even warm. He was just like filleting some balls the other way. And then, you get, once McClain gets going, the look of the lineup, if you've got Tyler Stevenson hitting like 7th, who Tyler Stevenson, over a full season is going to hit you 260 with 20-some homers, like, it's a good lineup, man.
Let me ask you this. I was watching the game. It was Sunday against the Nationals. The Reds were down 4-1 in the bottom of the 8th. And all of a sudden on my TV, I start seeing fans do the wave. Now, Sam, when you're pitching, or when you're pitching for the Reds, and you're down and you're losing, do you get annoyed by it? Because I start throwing my remote. We're losing. What are we doing the wave? It's like Red Zella. He's flinging balls into the stands. We're trying to win a baseball game, and we're doing the wave.
I love the passion, brother. I love it. I'd like to cut the brake lines on Redzilla, number one, and run it into the Ohio River. But no, the wave, dude. I've never liked the wave. Whether I'm pitching, we're not pitching, we're on the road, we're at home. But I have learned to accept it because at least the fans are participating. Because it pisses me off more when they just sit there for 3 hours waiting for something to boo. Get up and cheer, engage your players before something happens. Not every time, you stand up is when the bases are loaded and Ellie comes to bat and you chant Ellie. Like, don't just sit there waiting for something to boo. The fans have no idea the injection of life that they can give to a team just to start cheering, at any kind of random point in the game, because there is no random point in the game, especially in a close game. Every pitch matters. Like, that's going to be the fun part about this team this year is, for the most part, they're going to play close games. Every pitch is going to matter, and if you're paying attention, you're going to witness the best part of the game. If you cheer for that, if you're manifesting that or whatever as a fan, and you guys get together and start making some noise, it's felt. It is felt on the field, man. Like, I'll never be able to get that point across, and people will never do it because they're too busy looking at their phones. Like, why go to the game and look at your phone? You could have just stayed your ass on the couch eating bonbons all night. If you're going to come to the game, you know what I mean, dude? It's like this Red Zone. I'm passionate about it. Let's go.
Hopefully, if some of these Reds fans or Reds players will start going to the games, get their numbers up a little bit. And speaking of these guys, which one do you think is going to inject themselves and improve their numbers the most? We have McClain, Steer down at the bottom of this rotation. Candelario obviously on IL now, but played terribly when he was up. Which one of these guys that has been so far below expectation are you most confident in being one of this team's best players down the stretch?
Matt McClain. Matt McClain, no doubt. He's, like I said, I think he's their best player. I think he has He's going through it a little bit right now, but I think that the last couple nights, aside from the defensive laps that he made, in my opinion, he's found base a little bit. He's hit a couple last night in the first inning. He smoked a ball up the middle. Like there's been good signs that he's coming, and it's early enough that he can auto correct these numbers. I mean that's for every for every line out there's a blooper, bro, and he hadn't had many line outs. I'll say that. It's been some pretty weak contact for him, but he's the guy that one I believe in, and number two I hope, because they need him. Because if he plays to the capabilities like it, then you start talking of Friedl, McLean, Ellie, Hayes, Lux. If maybe Marte comes back looking like the guy he was, a Stevenson or Trevino. Not even talking about Spencer Steer, who I love, who can absolutely length. I mean, if Spencer Steer's hitting eighth in this lineup, which he might, you're in good shape, bro.
Speaking of Spencer Steer, since with Christian Encarnacion Strand on IL, he's kind of the guy that's been viewed as the long-term first baseman. Spencer Steer has been unbelievable defensively at first base, and that's not something that we necessarily saw from him in the outfield. With how good Gavin Lux has looked in left field, a position he hadn't played really before coming to Cincinnati, do you think there could be any kind of plans to have Spencer Steer be more of a full-time first baseman with how elite he's been at that spot?
Yeah, especially when Strand comes back. I mean, Strand's another guy that I'm really high on, and he's made me look like a fool for a while now. I'm not ready to abandon him yet, because I think he's a good hitter, and I think if he just touches the ball, it's going to go over the field. But yeah, I think Spencer's a great option for over there, and I think first base they have enough guys that they can rotate in around there. Hell, Austin Wynns was good at first base the other night. Yeah. I would trust Tyler Stevenson at first base sometimes to get Trevino behind the plate, get Tyler off his legs. The DH spot helps this team. No, I think that's where Spencer should play, is first base right now, because the throwing arm, I don't know what's going on with it. They're trying to recreate his mechanics, but he's a good first baseman. He's a good baseball player, and first base should be the place that he plays. And let's not forget real quick, just to mention Santiago Espinal. We don't have to say anything about him. I just wanted to say his name.
He's been great. He has been great. So you said Austin Wynns certainly played first base. Reds carrying three catchers, two of which have been two of the better hitters on this entire team. Tyler Stevenson was one of the better hitters going into this season, at least expectation-wise. What is the plan with those three catchers? Do you think we see Austin Wynns at first base more often, all three in the lineup like we did when Noelvi Marte got scratched? Or is it going to be more of a traditional sense where you're going to have to keep one on the bench even though they are three of your better bats?
I think that you have to, that's just going to be an evolution of the roster. And can they get everybody that they want? If everybody that they want is healthy, then I hate that for Austin Wynns because he's been great, but he's got to go. You can't. That's a luxury they have right now, or actually not a luxury. It's just a product of the fact that they need a warm body to some degree. He wouldn't be up in normal times. I love what he's done, but no, you can't. That was kind of a one-off. He learned 10 minutes before the game he was going to play first base. That's not going to happen often. But once they get everybody that they want, that they envisioned on this roster, yeah, that'll be just down to Tyler and Torino.
Sam LeCure with us. Sam, the rotation, when it's healthy, Hunter Greene gets back. We're hoping very, very soon. Right now, we just, Rhett Lauder's starting a rehab stint right now. Assuming everyone's healthy in this rotation, what do you do with Rhett Lauder? You just have a very, very good pitcher. You just kind of waiting over in AAA. How do you see that kind of playing out? You have five really good pitchers in this rotation when Hunter's healthy. MLB ready pitcher in Rhett Lauder once he's done with his rehab stint. How do you see that playing out?
I see him pitching in AAA until they need him.
Fair enough.
That's just kind of the way that it is, man. It's not like some beautiful answer. It's just is what it is. If he would have made the rotation out of spring training, that would have been a bad thing in my opinion. Just whether he's ready or not, right now he may be ready, but that doesn't mean he could not use a little bit more seasoning. And I think this would be the perfect time for him because coming off the starts he had in the big leagues last year where the numbers were great, that doesn't mean he didn't learn anything. He could be like, oh, I got away with some stuff. I know you guys got on me for cussing last time. It's just how I talk. But he can go down there and work on that stuff there to make sure that when he gets back up to the big leagues, he's ironed that out and he's ready to go. Same way, I was kind of talking about Reese Hines last night when he came up last year and hit all those home runs, and then he didn't sniff a fastball the rest of the time he was up. And so my hope was that he went down throughout this season and used that time to adjust in the minor leagues. Work on the adjustment in the minor leagues. When you came up to the big leagues, you're more prepared to hit. And it just looked like he wanted to do the same thing, which is press liftoff, every time last night. Like, you'll just get exposed, bro. Like, it's hard to hit. I see it right away. Not that I could physically go out there and do it, but mentally, if I had the stuff to do it, I'd go out and pick these guys apart. Like, the holes become obvious real quick. And if you don't close them up, you're going to get on a bus again real quick. But for Rhett Lauder, for the rotation should be the 5 guys, and they should take their time with Rhett. He needs to continue to build up his innings and all those things like that, just in terms of his career path.
All right, we appreciate you giving us the time that you always do. Last thing on the way out, we've had the debate on this show about the pitch clock. You're on the mound. There's 5 seconds left. You got to get that pitch off. 5 seconds, but the crowd's chanting 3, 2, 1, starting at 5. Does that actually distract you? Or are you actually being thrown off with that? Some people in here like when the fans do that. Some in here, not a big fan of it. You're on the mound. How is that? Is that distracting you? Is that impacting you? Do you even know what's going on?
Probably me. I probably wouldn't know what was going on. I probably wouldn't even know where I was. And I'm telling you, man, if you all have watched For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner, that whole clear the mechanism thing, that's a pretty accurate. Nobody actually says that in their head, but it's a pretty accurate description of how that goes. I couldn't tell you. Everybody in the stands could damn near been naked, and I might not have known it. You know what I mean? It's like you're just you're zeroed in, and with the pitch clock, I can see these guys' eyes darting over when they're on the mound, and they have got the camera on them, they're looking over here. And at first, I was like, "Are they looking at who's on deck?" And then I was like, "Oh no, the pitch clock." They're keenly aware of how much time is on the pitch clock, and no, I don't think they recognize it. Do I like it? Kinda, again, because I want the fans to participate a little bit, but it pisses me off too.
All right, Sam LeCure, Reds pre- and post-game show. Awesome enough to give us some time here today and off the bench. Sam, you're the best. We always love when you come on the show, and hope to have you on again soon.
Hopefully I did my job of kind of raising the Reds fans' spirits. They're at 500, man. It's 0-0. It's a new ball game, and as they get healthier and healthier, you guys start showing up to the ballpark, and I'll have them prove it for you.
Sounds like a plan. Sam, you the man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you could guillotine. Yeah. All right, well, good stuff. That wraps it up for us on the radio side. We'll continue on here with the live stream on Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Until next week, I should say, on the radio side. This has been Off the Bench. Justin Kinner, Case McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett. Shout out to Sam LeCure for coming on. This has been Off the Bench.